Welcome to A Mind for Life, the cosmology of being. Now, we're still in the trichotomy. We're in mind. Okay, so this is a brand new video on this subject of mind. We're still in the trichotomy, and I did a video called Mind 1 right before this one. So go check that video out, because if you haven't already, because it's going to give a background to this video. We're going to jump right into the subject matter of Mind 2, which is a subtitle of this video. You are on A Mind for Life, and A Mind for Life here, what we're doing is we're offering spiritual, philosophical technology so that you can live your truth. We're offering really perspectives, because what we want you to know is that your power ultimately is in your ability to behold. That's where your power is. A Mind for Life is not offering dogma. This is not a religious channel. We don't really have any opinions on religion. It is what it is over there, but over here we're offering perspectives. We're offering tools that you can use, technology in a spiritual, philosophical form that you can use to live and be who you really are in this outer world. Okay, so that being said, let's get right into mind. Now, I'm going to recap a little bit about the last video, okay, about what mind is. All right, so mind is being. That's the first thing. Mind is being. Mind is God. God is mind. All right, so I'm not going to unpack that in this video, guys, okay, because we did that in the previous video. We talked about in the previous video the divine sequence. All right, the divine sequence is the creative principle of the universe, which is the divine sequence. The divine sequence overall, in a nutshell here, it goes God, mind expresses mind. So mind is an expression of God. Mind expresses thought. Thought expresses manifestation. All right, so that manifestation can be physical objects, it can be ideas, it can be bodily functions and repairing, healing, and so forth like that. So that is what's called the divine sequence. This video is about supernatural focus. Okay, supernatural focus is the subject of this video, and it's a really cool way to really get an expansion on the divine sequence, because see, focus is the medium in which the divine sequence flows. Focus is the medium of the creative principle. Now, when I say medium, I mean, you know, that which allows something to flow through it. Like if you paint pictures, your medium would be, you know, linseed oil or whatever the case may be. Okay, the media is a medium. So any medium that allows some sort of creative process to flow, is that what we're talking about? And that is focus here for the divine sequence. Focus. Now let's define focus. Focus is the point at which an image is formed. That, if you look up focus, it's going to tell you the point at which an image is formed. So if I'm looking here at that, whatever that is, the point at which that image in my eye meets it is, it's formed at that point. Now, we don't define focus just in terms of physicality. Focus is also not just of the five senses even. I can feel and focus and touch one thing and focus on that, right? I can listen and focus on a sound. You know, I can focus on a taste, etc., etc. So focus is not just an image being formed. Focusing also is about what I'm thinking about, right? So if someone says be focused, you know, they're meaning being focused on whatever you mentally should be focused on. Like if you're doing homework, you're focused on that right now. So focus is the point at which something comes into being. Okay, so focus brings into being. Let me say that again. Focus brings into being. Continued focus continues being. So focus brings into being, and continued focus continues being. It's very important. So let me give you a couple examples. If I'm focused on getting a certain grade, I want that grade. So what do? I focus on my homework, the schoolwork. I focus on that to bring into being a certain grade. That is a focus in bringing into being. If I am looking at something versus something else, I'm focused on that thing I'm looking at, and that brings it into my view, whereas other things are not in my view anymore. If I'm focused on a certain individual, my connection and knowledge and relationship with that individual is going to evolve. More things are going to come into being as a result of me being focused on that person. Me thinking about that person, interacting with that person is going to create more. So focus brings into being, and continued focus continues being. Let's look at it this way. Say you've got grass to cut. You're looking at the grass and you want it to be a certain way. So you see it a certain way, and that's fine. You cut the grass. Now, if you stop focusing on the grass and you're too busy, after a while, the grass will not be what it was anymore. It'll be weeds, it'll be tall, etc., etc. So you have taken away your focus from that grass. It is not what it was. You do not have continued focus on the grass anymore. So it is being something else now. It's not being anymore. Okay? So what does this have to do with divine focus? So now we got an idea of what focus is. What is divine focus? I mean, what's this about? Divine focus, or supernatural focus, is focus beyond conditions. Supernatural focus is focus beyond conditions. What are conditions? Conditions are the circumstances that affect us, how we live, what we do, etc. That's what conditions are. We live in a world that is of conditions, that is conditional. What is a condition? Let me give an example of a condition in this sense. Just say, for example, I'm driving, right? And I'm focused in a certain direction, going a certain way. Then I come to a point in the road where there are signs up and they say hazardous conditions, detour. The conditions of that road cause my focus to shift and change. I'm not focused in the direction I was going in anymore. Now my focus has been refocused to a different direction, you see? So the conditions of that road have affected my focus. If I'm out and I'm doing whatever and it's getting late and I start to get tired, my focus on whatever I'm doing shifts, it changes. It's not the same as when I got there. Now it's late, time has passed, and I'm tired. Think about that for a minute. The condition of time has affected my focus. So my focus is conditional. It is affected by conditions. Conditions are the contrast. Conditions are the contrast that we experience here. The hot, the cold, the sunshine, the rain, the up, the down, the right, the left, emotional contrast, happy, sad, etc. We live in a world of contrast, which are the conditions that we deal with, the conditions that affect what we are focused upon. If I'm doing homework to bring about a certain result, which is focus brings into being, right? But it's late and I'm getting tired, or I keep getting text messages. That condition of me getting text messages is affecting my focus on my work. So what do? I turn off my phone. You see? So conditions continually impact who we are. And most importantly, impact our focus. Our focus is conditional. Our focus is conditional focus. Now, what is supernatural focus? Supernatural focus is focus beyond the natural. Supernatural focus is focus beyond conditions. It's focus beyond the condition or conditions. Supernatural focus is not affected by time. Supernatural focus is not affected by emotion. It's not affected by the weather. Supernatural focus is not affected by a phone call ringing and now the focus is broken and shifted. Supernatural focus doesn't get lost because it is focused beyond the conditions. It is not of conditions. It is unconditional focus. Supernatural focus is unconditional focus. Remember, God is being, so God is all that is. So God is also the right as well as the left. God is also the sunshine as well as the rain. God is all that is, so there is nothing coming into God's focus to distract God from what God is focused upon. That is unconditional focus right there. That is super key. It is supernatural. So when we talk about supernatural focus, we talk about an unconditional focus. And get this. You have had slivers of moments of supernatural focus because you are created in the image of God, the Creator. You are a reflection of all that is. Now, remember a situation where you were in the midst of a craft performance or a relationship, and in that moment, you were totally focused on that person or that skill or that performance or whatever it is, that place, the scenery. You felt in that moment an unconditional focus. Now, that's pure bliss, pure focus, nothing in. Now imagine taking that outside of time. Imagine taking that moment of immortality outside of time to where it is not affected by anything at all, and it goes on forever, eternal. That's the focus of God, and you can tap into that. We have had moments of that. So to recap, supernatural focus is focus beyond condition. Only God can focus supernaturally beyond the natural. The natural is contrast and conditions. That's what nature is. Nature needs conditions, sunshine and rain. Now, let's get into this other aspect here. Love. Specifically, unconditional love. And this is really awesome. When this came, it was great. Supernatural love or unconditional love. Only God can love unconditionally. Hey, I said it. Only God can love unconditionally. Only God can do that. We have the intention to love unconditionally, but only God can truly love unconditionally. So love is focus. Aha. Love is focus. We think of love as an emotion. Oh, I feel this and that's love. And emotions are a part of love, but emotions are not love. Emotions are emotions. We're going to get into emotions later. Emotions are, as I said before, the telescope to your universe. That's the real function of emotion. Emotions can be focused and flow towards a subject, a person, place, thing, event, etc. But emotions are not love. Focus is love. Your love is your ability and your willingness and your act of focusing. That's love. God's love is unconditional. Now you see why. Because God's love is not affected by time. It's not affected by the weather, emotions, other people. God's love is unconditional, meaning that God is continually focused on your universe. Your universe was brought into being through love, which is what? Focus. Your universe was brought into being through focus and continues to be because of focus. Focus continues being. Okay, that's very key. We cannot love unconditionally, guys. I'm just telling you the truth. We have situations that come in that change how we interact, that interrupt our focus. Focus is not just, oh, I feel different now. Focus is what you are paying attention to, as we said before. But love is focus. So we have things that come in a conditional world that affect our love. We may love this for a certain period of time, and then something happens and we don't love it anymore. We're not focused on it anymore. Love is focus. It's not where you feel. So as we get into understanding love is how and what we focus on, now we get this. But let me before I get to that, let me say this. For example, God's love for you is unconditional because it is outside of time, and it is God's focus on you outside of time. And it's eternal because it's outside of time. So you are continually being focused on, and that's where you get your unconditional love from, not from other people. That's a mistake to try to put that on somebody. Love me unconditionally. It's impossible. Only God loves unconditionally. Outside of time, outside of circumstances or conditions. You can never not be, because not being is being not being. In other words, not being is being non-existent. So you are still being. So you still have the love, unconditional love of God. You are still existing. You can never not be. And we covered this a little bit in the last video. For us, we cannot love unconditionally because love is focus. My desire, my willingness, and my act of focusing is love. Okay? Now, if something happens, just say, I transition out of this life. I'm not loving that person anymore as such. That condition of time or of physical experience, which is a condition, has taken my focus off of that person. As such, in front of them, I'm not there anymore. I don't love them as this flesh and blood person anymore. People who get mental issues and now they don't know who's around, do they love that person now? If they've loved that person in the past, but now they have a mental condition and they don't recognize that person, do they love that person anymore? Their focus is not on that person anymore. And then we can take it to more simpler things, like people change over time, and people different conditions come in to affect how that person is focusing on whatever it is they are loving. I used to love living here, but now I love living there. I'm not focused on living here anymore. So we cannot love unconditionally. And this is the cause of what I call suffering. Now, briefly, suffering is this, and this is the most clearest definition ever of suffering. Suffering is focusing on what you do not want. Suffering is loving what you do not want, what is not good for you, what is not wanted. That is suffering. See, we think of love as this emotional thing and desire. No. If you are focused on something that is hurting you or not good for you or is distracting you, you are loving it. If you are loving it and it's not for you, you are suffering because you're giving your attention to what you do not want. That is called suffering. It's not anything to do with expectations, failed expectations and this and that. No. Love is focus. Loving or focusing upon what you do not want, like complaining about it, like talking about it to people, like listening to it, continuing to go back to that. You're loving it. Even though your emotions, you may not like it even. But if you're focused on it, you're loving it and you're suffering. So that's really what suffering is. I had to put that in there because love is focus. Only God can focus unconditionally without conditions. Only God can love unconditionally. All right. So focus is the medium at which the divine sequence flows. All right, guys. So I want to give that to you here. In these videos on mind. Okay, so this is the video for mind 2, and it was about supernatural focus. All right, the next video I'm feeling is going to be about the 3 attributes. 3 attributes. We're going to go through that because that's going to tie us into the refractivity of mind. Okay, so the next video will be the 3rd mind video. And right now I'm feeling that it's going to be about the 3 attributes. I'm going to leave it right there, okay? All right, so thanks for coming. A Mind for Life. Peace out.
Can you remember when we fell in love? What a wonderful time that was. Leaves were falling and our hearts were open to love. A season of change had finally